And when you look at what Dorothy did, it was completely revolutionary. You know, I've said to you that I think her methods are designed as like this time bomb inside the education system, because when people take it on, it changes them as teachers. And from within, if schools take it on, it changes the education system, because it changes the way you think about learning and how people learn. But I think sometimes schools maybe don't get it, because they look at it and they've got this very different model in their head. And that's really what Dorothy was about. You know, it's not about having good drama so much as having good education. It's about changing the way the education system works. Because she was angry about the way the education worked, about the stupidity of it and the rottenness of it, and what it did to young people and their minds.
Welcome back to Drama Beyond Performance. Today we are featuring David Allen, a visionary in the realm of educational drama and creative learning. Through his work with Midland Actors Theatre and Mantle Network, David is committed to transform education through drama. He has also created a platform called the Dorothy Heathcote Now Conference, where every year educators from all over the world come together to collaborate, share knowledge, and create new ideas. So get ready for an enlightening session with David Allen.
We have just come to an end to the 4-day Dorothy Heathcote Now Conference 2023 at University of Aberdeen, organized by University of Aberdeen and Midlands Actors Theatre, headed by David Allen. David, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for coming all this way.
Yes, it's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to come and attend conferences, but this one more because it's so practical and so immersive, and we can do so much as teachers and learn so much through the physical body, more than being talked to or, you know, told and presented.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the things that with Dorothy's work, like Mantle of the Expert, I don't think, well, teachers tell me they don't really get it until they see it, until it's practical. I think you have to, because it's such a change, such a revolution, really. People don't really get it until they see it, or at least give it a go themselves.
Right. It wouldn't have occurred to me that Dorothy's work is archived and it is being followed by so many people had I not met you on Facebook. So and had not, pandemic happened, you know.
Yeah.
I think pandemic, the lockdown really helped many of us who had no idea what was happening with drama and education worldwide to quickly get a preview of what is happening and what is possible and what are the practitioners around the world doing. And thank you for setting up the Facebook page of Commission Model.
Well, you know, I had been doing Dorothy's work for so many years and doing 4 Erasmus Plus projects, so projects with partners across Europe, developing Mantle of the Expert, Commission Model, Rolling Roll. And so I was really doing my own work, always guided by the principles of Dorothy's methods and ideas. And it really was lockdown and COVID that made a big difference. Because for one thing, I set up the Facebook group, and that really took off, and it made all these contacts around the world, and we started doing the online seminars, and yes, that's how you and I made contact.
Yes.
And it was in that time that I had this idea, it's the anniversary of Dorothy's death. Yeah. It's going to be in October 2021. There should be a conference for that. Why don't I do it? And I'd better get that idea out there now, because otherwise somebody else will have the idea and do it instead. So I had this mad idea of doing the conference, and it happened when we were still in COVID. It was getting better to the point where we could have a conference and meet in person. And it's great that we have this contact with people around the world with online, but it's so different when we all come together, isn't
Absolutely,
it? In a
yes.
conference like this.
Yes.
It's very different and it energizes you.
It does. It does inspire us. And this time, because 3 of us had come from our organization,
Yeah.
it really makes a world of difference when all 3 of us, would come back after the conference day would end and share our learnings. And I think it's in the sharing and the knowing and the doing of it that makes us better teachers.
Well, you were very clever, weren't you? Because the 3 of you split up each time to go to different workshops so you could feed back to each other.
Yes, that was the plan. Let's talk about drama and theatre, David. You are from the theatre, but was your journey from theatre to drama and education, or did you always think of teaching drama or being in the world of drama and education and then do theatre? How was it, or was it together, parallel?
So I was doing my undergraduate degree at Birmingham University, and my aim was to be a theatre director. And as part of that journey, while I was an undergraduate, I started to run a youth theatre. And at that time I thought, I'm not doing this well at all. I don't really know how to work with these young people. And I thought, and my degree was coming to an end, and I thought, what do I do? And at that time in England, your fees were paid and you had a grant to go to university or whatever. And so there was the option to do a 1-year teacher training course, PGCE. And I thought, well, that could be useful because it could give me these skills in working with young people, which I might then build on with youth theatre work and so on, as well as then I can go on to develop a career as a director. And I went to do a course at what was Birmingham Polytechnic, run by Dave Davis, and the whole of the course was built around Dorothy's methodology. And I didn't know who Dorothy Heathcote was. And in my interview for that course, they said to me, would you work in a school? And I said, no, but I still got on the course. And that's when I encountered Dorothy's work. And that's when we went as part of that course for 2 days to Newcastle to work with her, an event which still lives with me. And I think about it often, about what happened in that drama that she did with us. Life-changing, really. And afterwards, I knew that I had to be using what I'd learned, what I discovered. And I had this foolish idea, I suppose, that I could work like Dorothy, and I quickly found I couldn't. And I went through different stages in this journey of mine, because at that time, Dave Davis's course was based around early Dorothy, we might call it, man in a mess Dorothy, as she described it herself. And then I did a PhD and I went and started lecturing in the University of Wolverhampton. And that's when I encountered Yona Towler-Evans, who at that time was working in Dudley as drama advisor, and she worked with some of our students doing theatre in education projects, but based on Mantle the Expert, that would go around to different schools. And I became involved in that process. And I learned about Mantle the Expert from that moment. I remember once we were working in a school, and I moved the drama towards something that was more, because I thought the children needed hooking in more and engaging more, so I made it a bit more, well, afterwards, Yona said to me, man in a mess, David, man in a mess. And I kind of had to get my own head round the difference in working through Mantle of the Expert. But the great thing there as well was that Yona knew Dorothy, worked with Dorothy, and so many times after that, we would go to her house in Spondon and we would spend the day there with her, and she would help us plan projects for Dudley Theatre in Education and then also for Midland Actors Theatre. And she would come and do workshops for us. So I had an ongoing connection with her over the years. But I suppose I still had my theatre interest, of course. I set up Midland Actors Theatre in 2001. I do productions, but I also do community work and I do an awful lot of education work. So I have these three strands going on together. And sometimes they feel like they're very different, but sometimes they feel like they connect.
Right. There are many ways we look at drama when it comes to education in the space of education. There is performance training where teachers teach stagecraft and how to create a performance, devising techniques and other acting techniques. And then there's this other world of drama in education, but drama for learning, which Dorothy kind of brought into action through her work. If I asked you, what would drama as a tool do to a child's life as she's growing up and learning, how would you respond to that? Drama and using drama.
In schoolwork, I don't see a point myself in giving young people in schools actor training, performance skills in that sense, because they're not going to be actors. And most of them wouldn't want to be. So I see it more as an educational tool, which doesn't mean there can't be performance in there. I think it's more about using theatre and using theatre as an art form. I think any involvement in drama work does make a difference. You can see this because I do some teaching at university level, and the drama students are always much more confident and vocal than other students that I might encounter. And I think it makes a difference in terms of confidence, but also in terms of the public voice, being able to speak in public and say your views and so on with other people. But I think to myself, really, I think, what is drama about? It's about, as Dorothy would say, it's about exploring what it means to be human. And if you like, drama is all of life. Drama is the curriculum, because it's about the human. It's about the human experience. And so that's what should be at the heart of the curriculum, isn't it?
Yes.
That's what's the heart of the curriculum. And drama is a method, such a powerful method to explore that. And it makes knowledge immediate, because it's not about, as Dorothy would say, it's not about over there learning. We're learning about something over there. We're learning about something here and now. And that's a huge difference, and that's a huge shift. I think drama, as Dorothy said, drama can leave a lasting impact on you, because it goes deep into your mind, experience, deep into your memory. So when it really matters, it matters. It makes it matter.
Do you think a background in theatre is necessary to teach this kind of work? I mean, to use drama in education with children, for teachers I'm asking. Do teachers with a theatre background help or aid?
It's a great question. It's a very important question that I think about quite a lot. Because, of course, I do have a theatre background. And so I have that with me in the work that I do. And so I do wonder about, if you don't have that background, how does it affect or change the way you work? And of course, you have the example of a school like Woodrow First School, where you've got teachers there who were working through Mantle of the Expert and who don't have a drama background. But the way that I see it is that it's using theatre methods in the classroom. And so it can be, I think, possibly a disadvantage, because if somebody's got, say, a strong background in acting, that's not the skill that you want in the classroom.
Right.
Because if you're, say, going into role in the classroom, you're in role, but you're thinking teacher. You're using the role as a teaching device. You're using it as a provocation. You're using it to get a reaction, to make the children work. And if you're an actor, there might well be a tendency to put on a performance. If you put on a performance, then the kids are sitting back watching you.
Yeah.
And Cecily O'Neill had an example the other day here when she said, well, she found in America that teachers had a tendency to put on costumes, they're going to be doing a performance, and that actually the problem there is it puts them in a different world to the children. But it is about theatre, it is about theatre form, it is about the use of sign, and that is common in performance, it's common in drama work. It's about utilising sign, because in the theatre, of course, you are highly selective in using sign. If you're directing, you're thinking about every detail counts. And that is what's being harnessed in the classroom when you're using sign and you're using it selectively. And I heard Dorothy say once, if you think theatre in the classroom, you can't go far wrong. And that stays with me, because I do think it's kind of like thinking of this classroom as this theatre space, which doesn't mean you have to have lots of set or lights or anything like that.
Right.
But you're visualizing it, I guess, in a sort of, in your dramatic imagination, in terms of what is this space apart from being a classroom. And I think you're also encouraging the children to see it like that. Mm-hmm. And you may only make small changes in the space itself, but but in your head, you're in a different world.
Yes, it's interesting. It's very interesting to see when you put a sign, you bring a sign into the classroom, how children perceive it so very differently. And we can actually look into we get a window into their lives through just putting in a sign and asking them to comment on the sign, what it is about.
Yeah, to explore it.
Yes.
Collectively, but also it's an individual exploration of what that means. It's like this sort of searchlight on that thing at that moment.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Drama has always been looked at as a therapeutic tool, because many, as theatre, I would say, that once we are engaged in performance or in theatre, we find ourselves, or maybe we lose ourselves. A lot of such things happen, and somewhere people understand that drama really empowers you and makes you more confident. But using drama as a learning tool, as a real pedagogy, how difficult do you see that happening in schools? How difficult is it, or how easy it is for schools to adopt drama as a pedagogy, a possible pedagogy?
I think the problem is that they don't get it. Mm. And I'm talking about the system, really.
Yes.
Especially now, we have an education system that's based on clear input and outcomes. Mm. It's based on a model where you say, okay, now they need to know this, so we teach them this, and then at the end of it, they will know this, and we can test them on it. It's based on this transmission model of teaching. And when you look at what Dorothy did, it was completely revolutionary. Mm. You know, I've said to you that I think her methods are designed as like this time bomb inside the education system, because when people take it on, it changes them as teachers. Yes. And from within, if schools take it on, it changes the education system, because it changes the way you think about learning and how people learn. But I think sometimes schools maybe don't get it, because they look at it and they've got this very different model in their head. And that's really what Dorothy was about. You know, it's not about having good drama so much as having good education. It's about changing the way the education system works. Because she was angry about the way the education worked, about the stupidity of it and the rottenness of it and what it did to young people and their minds. So I think, in terms of, you do get, of course, pockets of this happening. And partly, I think, sometimes it's because the education system realizes what we're doing isn't working. We've got to do something different. And sometimes they, at least in England in the last 20 years or so, it's been a case of, okay, this isn't working, let's do more of it. Give them more things to learn, let's have more testing. And of course, it doesn't work.
Yeah, testing is also one of the routes, I feel, one of the instruments that they use to keep the children coming back to school. Because you have to pass those tests to go to the next level. If you don't pass these tests, you won't be promoted to the next level. So it's also like a threat to me at times. And children, because we work with children so closely, we always see them so anxious before an examination. Because it is deciding whether they are moving forward or not. And that's kind of let down. It lets you down as a person, that you've learned so much throughout these many months or the whole year, and then one assessment is going to make a decision for you.
Yeah. Well, it's doing terrible damage, I think, to young people. They're in that state all the time, really, of we've got to pass these exams. Everything is exam driven, and there's always that pressure. And I think it's a terrible pressure to be putting on young people.
Yes.
And it actually inhibits learning. And it becomes about passing the exam, doesn't it? You learn to be good at passing the exam. Some people do, some children do. That's how they succeed. They learn to succeed in the system. But of course, you learn things from exams, and then you forget about it completely. You think, thank goodness that's over. So what are we doing? It's the neoliberal system, though, isn't it? It's a machine system. It's treating people like machines that can be like programmed with data, and then you see how they work, how efficiently they work as a machine.
Right. Do you see drama, if I don't know if it is possible to look at drama as a possible way to assess, to do a formative assessment of children? Because I feel that when we are engaged in drama, we can see actually children who would not write or speak or read do that in drama.
Yeah.
And for a child who does not like writing, to ask him to write 3 hours of paper, test papers, it's a crime, I feel. But at the same time, when the child is engaged in drama, she writes. And they write pages after pages, and we have evidence for that as well, yeah.
Yes. It brings out different things. I think sometimes teachers are surprised by what they see when you're doing this, working this way with their children, going into a school and working with their classes, because they see their children differently. And in some ways, there was one school we went into, and the teacher said to us, "Oh, that girl, she never talks in class." And then we did the work, and we couldn't shut her up. She didn't stop talking because there was such a change. I mean, one of the changes is because you go in and you try to set it up so that you're not the teacher who is the person who knows the answers, and there's right and wrong answers, and there's that pressure to have the right answer. It's open. It's much more open to people's different contributions and ideas. But it's also because, as you say, because they have this investment in what they're doing, this sense of ownership over what they're doing, that it changes their attitude to the work. It's not sort of now, oh, I've got to do this because teacher says I've got to do it and I don't really want to do it. They've got a reason for wanting to write, and that changes it. And it becomes sometimes what Dorothy talked about, this kind of obsession. They really want to do this. They become obsessed with it.
Yes, they do. They do get really obsessed with it, and they want to come back again and continue the drama.
Yeah.
How important do you think, David, is training in drama and education for a teacher before she starts doing drama? Because I did not have any training when I started. So I feel after so many years that I've really, maybe missed out on a lot of time. Not wasted, I would say, but I could have done, if I had some training, I could have maybe progressed a little faster than what I've done already. It was only when I started reading on, about Dorothy, and I read her books. Those books taught me how to teach. But before that, I would usually apply my theatre skills and whatever I learned through productions to working on stage, with my children in the classroom. So, how important do you think training is before we embark our journeys as a drama teacher?
Well, I think it is about a thorough grounding in it's not. There's a thing about it's not just about learning like a toolkit of skills or techniques. It's about how you think about education, how you think about learning, how you think about working with young people. It's about evaluating yourself as a teacher, I think, and what kind of teacher you want to be. And I think people need that space to explore that and to find those things out. So I was very lucky when I did my PGCE course, because we were in, for some months at the start of the course, we were in the Polytechnic 4 days a week. And then we started doing bits of teaching, and in the end we were on teacher training. But there was an immersion that happened there, which doesn't happen now in the way that teacher training is done in the UK. We're in the University of Aberdeen, we're in the drama studio, where I think Will Barlow, the lecturer here, sees his students for about 16 hours before they go off to work in schools.
Really?
That's about what they have. They have very limited time with them to give them the basis. And how can you do that? How can you teach a teacher? I mean, teaching is a high skill.
Yes.
And so we degrade it when we see training in these terms. But I think it's because in the UK anyway, the government wants teacher technicians. This is the curriculum, deliver it. You're part of the machine. So I think training is not just about doing 1 year training course or doing occasional courses in, 1 day courses or over so many weeks as you do with me with Mantle of the Expert training. It's a continuous thing.
Yes.
I think we lost that to some extent in recent years, this idea that teachers always used to have, that they are continually working on their art as a teacher, their skill as a teacher. So it's great, for example, you've come back to the Mantle of the Expert course that I do to do it for another year.
Yes.
Because I feel myself that I'm always learning. And that is why I'm always going back to Dorothy, because with the Facebook group, the website and all that, I feel like it's like she's continuing to mentor me. She's not here anymore, but she's mentoring me. I'm watching the videos and I'm learning as if she was still alive and I was consulting with her. Because there's so many things, her work is so rich, that there's so many things that I see a film and I suddenly think, oh, I get that now. Yeah. Oh, right. And it's sort of, it can be it's a lifetime really. It's a lifetime working on yourself as a teacher. And I think that's the first thing really, that commitment to, Dorothy would call it a calling, I think. Teaching is a calling, it's not just a job. And so you're self. And when I'm teaching on the Mantle of the Expert course or doing workshops at a conference like this, I'm learning. I'm probably the one learning most from doing it, because obviously you have to think through what you're doing and you learn from the people you're working with. And all the time when I'm thinking like the Mantle of the Expert course, I'm thinking next week I need to talk about this. Oh, I'll have a look at this video. Oh, I see. Yes, I should be. Why wasn't I talking about that before? I should have been highlighting that. I'll have to put it in. So it's a continual process of developing your knowledge. So you can't just do one training course.
Yes, you cannot. You cannot. No. Well, thank you so much, David, for mentoring us through so many years now. It's been 3, 4. This is the 4th year. And your courses that you've started online with all of us in India, and some are joining in from other countries as well. It's really, really so valuable for all of us. It gives us structure. It gives us a path to actually, follow and do it practically. So,
well, what you're doing is so exciting. And it's. I do talk about people. There's sort of these pioneers in different parts of the world. You are a pioneer in India. You are a revolutionary. You're making these changes.
Yes, I think it's very important to stick to one way of teaching and learning. And for me, it has always been drama. And we've always tried to keep it to drama and education and not go towards performance too much, because it's a very thin line, and especially in India, it's a very thin line. Many teachers give up on using drama in education just because, there's a pressure of performance, of delivering performances. So I think I've been very lucky to have people around me who have supported me in this journey, and many parents, because we directly have conversation with parents, and there are over 300-400 parents who have been on this journey with us, and they believe that drama actually makes a difference in their children's lives. I think that is really rewarding, and then because of drama we get to meet all of you and do these conferences, because this conference is like a training program for all of us who come here.
Well, yeah, I was clear to myself when I started this that it wasn't going to be an academic conference. Yes. My wife might not be happy with me saying this because she is an academic, but I didn't want a conference where people were coming with their research and presenting papers about it and the audience listened to it, because the model to me was a conference that Dorothy did in 1996 at what was University of Central England, where she called it an interactive research conference. So it's people coming together to research there and then together, to explore things together, not just to learn from people who are skilled and experienced in the field, but to explore it together. And that is, I think that's vital, because it means we're all working on it together. Yes. It's not like this hierarchy of, the professors and the so everyone is part of this journey, I think, and it's an ongoing journey. And isn't that different? And isn't that exciting?
It is, and thank you for creating this journey for all of us. Thank you so much, David. Thank you, everybody, and hope we continue this journey together.
We will. We will. It's been great working with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.